Hello and welcome to the United Stand. How are you all doing? We're going to spend the first 4 hours of this show talking about whether Sergio Ramos should get retrospective action. No, we're not. We don't care. The reality is you lost. Deal with it and move on. Everybody else has. I'm all celebrated out. We move on. We might talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about Milinkovic-Savic to Manchester United being a done deal. Now, amongst all the celebration of Liverpool losing, Ronaldo and Bale, everything else that's going on, Fred done deal, Fellaini going, there was something quite interesting yesterday from Matteo Materazzi, who is the brother of Materazzi who got Zidane sent off in the World Cup a few years ago. And he basically said that Manchester United is basically a done deal with Milinkovic-Savic, and United are just waiting to offload Pogba before they announce Milinkovic-Savic, which is quite interesting because we were going to do a show on Friday night, Pogba versus Milinkovic-Savic. What's better for Manchester United? Because many people don't feel that they can have both. So I want to get into that debate a little bit. But first of all, who is Matteo Materazzi? And is he anything to do with Milinkovic-Savic? No. Is he anything to do with Lazio? No. Is he anything to do with Manchester United? No. He's an agent. He is an agent, but the clubs that the players that he's an agent for are nondescript. I think the most valuable player he's got in his roster is about £1 million. So he's not necessarily Mr. Big I Am in relation to football agents, but he is an agent who operates in Italy. So I don't know. I mean, it's a very obscure sort of source in many ways, but it does tick a lot of the boxes that people have been talking about for a while. That Milinkovic-Savic is the perfect player for Jose Mourinho because he's tall, flair, gets a lot of yellow cards, a fighter. He's the perfect player for the fans because he's flair, skillful, and provides excitement. And he's exactly the sort of player that Manchester United should be going for if he is available. But Damien Hosty straight in there says Pogba won't leave. And Kazim says, no Pogba, stay I pray. And I would have both of them, says Bradley Mangs. Look, also, we've had Michael Carrick saying, I don't know where this is all coming from, Paul Pogba is going to stay. The interesting thing is it looks like Fred's a done deal. So you bring Fred in as a replacement for Carrick. And then ideally you bring Milinkovic-Savic in as a replacement for Fellaini. And your midfield business is done. And everybody's happy and we retain Pogba. And that's the summer I hope we have. But of course on Friday, we're apparently monitoring the Fabinho situation from Monaco. So if we get Fabinho and Fred, we don't get Milinkovic-Savic because I can't see us signing three midfielders, especially with what's potentially going on with Ronaldo and Bale, who I don't think United were probably in for, but if they're looking to leave, then suddenly they become attractive options. Roy Keane just said Pogba and Martial out, Savic and Bale in. Good timing with that. But in relation to, I think there's an interesting thing with Paul Pogba. I like Paul Pogba. I don't think he's going to leave Manchester United, but I can't dispute the fact that he's been very inconsistent in the 2 years he's been here. And I don't want to laugh about Salah last night because I actually feel sorry for Salah. I know he plays for Liverpool. I feel sorry for him for that every week. But I felt sorry for him because it's not his fault. Liverpool bought him. He's been absolutely fantastic. And he has been what your star player should be, like De Bruyne at Manchester City. That's what, like Alexis Sanchez used to be at Arsenal. That's what your star player's meant to do. They're meant to turn up week in, week out and win you games. And the only star player we've got at Manchester United is David De Gea, because week in, week out, no matter who the opposition is, yes, he'll do it. He'll be Superman or Spider-Man against Arsenal away and win us the 3 points. But he'll also do it at home against boring teams like West Brom. And that's what your star player does. And that's what Salah's done this season. That's what De Gea does for us. But the reality is Paul Pogba was meant to be our star player at Manchester United. And what Milinkovic-Savic has done at Lazio this season, at a Lazio team that's not that good, he's been their star player week in, week out against all teams, top teams, bottom teams, middle teams. He's been that tenacious flair player, getting goals, getting assists week in, week out. Now, yeah, it is Lazio, and it's equivalent of probably Sessegnon doing it for Fulham every week, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of a player who does it for a team that's below the top six week in, week out. It's quite hard, actually, but maybe you can throw people into live comments there. But the reality is Paul Pogba's not doing that at United, and he's not done it for 2 years, but he was bought to do that. He was bought to come into this team and week in, week out provide leadership, flair, goals, assists, and star quality performances, and he hasn't done that. And I think that is why people are probably entertaining with Pogba that he could go this summer. And obviously, you add into the equation that Paul Pogba is clearly been banded around by his agents. I mean, Pep Guardiola said it, other teams have said it. Why is that happening with Pogba? Why is he doing that? Is he unhappy himself? And is Mourinho unhappy with Pogba? And I would hazard a guess that Mourinho is unhappy with Pogba. He's already said he doesn't want to sell him. Carrick's come out and said that, and I don't think United want to sell Pogba. I think United want Pogba to be the player that we bought him to be. But is there an issue with Pogba and whether Pogba wants to be that player at Manchester United? Does Pogba want to put the hard yards in at Manchester United? And that Mourinho is in this situation where a lot of people are saying he won't sell Pogba and replace him with Milinkovic-Savic. He won't do it. And I understand that because he bought Pogba for 90 million 2 years ago. He's smack in the middle of a massive contract. And who's going to pay us 130, 40 million for Pogba? Because we couldn't just let him go for 90 million when the market's gone up. So I understand all of that. But then on the other hand, you go, well, Mourinho's got 1 year to win a title. His first 2 years have gone well, but he's got 1 year to win a title. He might need to do something really ruthless. And Shaw and Martial being sold, whilst it might not please many Man United fans, it's not controversial because people can see that's coming. Getting rid of Pogba and bringing in Milinkovic-Savic would be controversial. It would be massively brave. But if Mourinho was doing it because I've had him for 2 years, he's not been the star player I wanted him to be, this lad could be, then that would be ridiculously brave. And I wouldn't want it to happen. But part of me would go, bloody hell, he actually is doing something really dynamic and really brave on his own terms. And he obviously doesn't believe that Pogba is the player that he can be. And let's not forget, Sir Alex Ferguson sort of hinted that Pogba didn't get games because he wasn't consistent enough. So I think Pogba will stay, but I suppose the question to you lot is, as we take some of your comments before we move on to the next topic. I mean, you and Turner's just said Pogba's too inconsistent. Swap him for a better player like Dybala. Well, they're different players, Ewan. But if I was saying to you, you know, it could come down to this. It's Pogba or Milinkovic-Savic. Who would you want at Manchester United next season? I would say Pogba, because I still see in Pogba things I don't see with any other midfielder in the world. Like Gascoigne was brilliant. He'd get the ball and he could run at players. Pogba's one of the only midfielders in the world who, when he gets the ball, he can run past a midfielder. And when he's past that midfielder, in the modern game, tactically, that messes up the opposition because they've lost a midfielder. Someone's got to go to Pogba and leave somebody else. We haven't seen Pogba do that enough. And I do defend Pogba on that we haven't really seen the proper Paul Pogba. And I think we've lost sight of that. I remember us talking about it around Christmas time, saying this isn't the proper Pogba when he's playing in the midfield too. And we haven't seen the proper Pogba. And I want to see that. And I'm hopeful that Carrick can bring the real one out of him. But he's got to have the shackles off under Mourinho's system. And Pogba's one of the best players in the world for dribbling with the ball, getting at players. He's got a great shot on him. He can switch the play. He can hit a ball over the top. I just don't think we've got the best out of Pogba. So I don't want Pogba to go. I think Milinkovic-Savic is a fantastic player. And I think he can be one of the best midfielders in the world. But I'd have an issue with letting Pogba go to bring him in, because it's like Pogba's around that sort of, like Carrick said, we've got him in his prime. He's got all those years ahead of him. Let's get the best out of him. So I don't like that sort of mentality where you let a player go and bring a better one in. It's sort of a Real Madrid mentality before they got Zidane, and what a job Zidane's done. Max Meyer from Schalke says David Stanley. He is a good player. Oh, he is a good player. I would have no regret if Pogba goes just because he doesn't have the mental strength, says Pratiush. Well, that is something that gets that does get said a lot. But Isaiah Daniel says fans are just clamouring over a new shiny toy in the market. Pogba is a world-class player in any other team. He's miles ahead of Savic in everything besides the air. If you want to play long ball, okay then. And I think that's a good comment by Isaiah. I think it sort of fits in with how I feel, although he's been a bit more blunt about it. I don't agree with getting rid of Pogba for Milinkovic-Savic. I would like to see them both at United as options, because Milinkovic-Savic is going to struggle with the pace. It's going to take him a little bit of time. There was a comment there. Roy Keane and Pogba suffer because of lack of quality around him. No, Roy Keane said Pogba suffers because of a lack of quality around him, says Willis Chitumbu. I agree. I think we've seen that many a time. What was the game where Pogba played in a midfield three with Fellaini and Matic and got absolutely swamped? I think it was the Brighton game. If he's the only midfield option that's got flair and speed, then you just swamp him. He needs somebody next to him, and I think Fred could bring that. Pogba doesn't have the freedom to express himself, says Abe. United will sign 4 players, says Fian Curtin. Pogba seems to lack passion, Aidan Hodgson. Thanks for that. I'm trying to get bits of the both side here. Spad W says Pogba is not a world-class player. Well, he isn't at the moment. I mean, the one thing I would say about Pogba that I can't defend him about is we've seen it in the tunnel against Chelsea. We've seen it on the pitch with Manchester City. It's this, he does, and I think I've seen ex-pros say it against him. Brian Robson said it very well. this is a game. This is not a game. This actually matters. This is a game, and I think that's something where Pogba does go a little bit wrong. It's all a bit of a game for him. I think he needs to get some sort of fight in him, and I don't think he's that sort of personality. I think the dancing and everything, it's part of his personality. But actually, at Manchester United or any big club, when you're going to be the focal point, you've got to have that grit and determination. And I know Sergio Ramos is getting a lot of stick at the moment, but you know what? Can anybody people are categorically saying he did it on purpose, but as a referee, could you categorically say he did that on purpose? And I tell you what, if he did do it on purpose, he's a very clever man, because I don't know how you could purposely put a tackle on that like that on somebody and know it's going to do what it did. He might have thought, I'm going to try and hurt him, but to do that. But at the end of the day, I'd take Sergio Ramos at Manchester United. 2 years ago, we were linked to him, and I really wanted him because he's good in the air, and he bloody gets a lot of yellow cards, and he really does give everything for the cause. And they might be controversial characters. Roy Keane's tackle on Erling Haaland was absolutely disgraceful, but it didn't make me not love Roy Keane as Manchester United captain. And those players, whilst they might not be popular with opposition, they are the sort of players that win you trophies. And Ramos may well have been the key factor. Well, he was. Whether it was intentional or not, he won them the trophy yesterday because Salah didn't play. And if Salah had been on the pitch, Liverpool would have been a better team, but they sank without him. So they're the sort of players that you want, and Paul Pogba just doesn't have that in him. But I think and he doesn't need to go to the extremes of Sergio Ramos, but you need your star player to have that fight in him, and I don't think he does. And we've seen with Pogba, I mean, I know he's 25 now, but we've seen with Pogba, and he's on games and he's looking a bit sulky and he's banging the floor, and that's not leadership. And maybe you need to surround Pogba with leaders, or he needs to become a leader. So I would agree with that. The Dillinger Compound says, shuffling coaching staff to me is a step in the right direction. Thanks for the contribution there. And I just want to say as well, a few people are on about Ramos. I don't really want to get into that because it's been and gone. But what I do want to say is that everybody is clamouring to... Well, I think it's great that Klopp's at Liverpool because he's a serial bottler. But it's a very interesting situation when you look at Klopp's 3 seasons at Liverpool. He's finished 8th, 4th and 4th and lost numerous cup finals and not won a trophy. So 8th, 4th, 4th and no trophies. Mourinho in 2 seasons at Manchester United, 6th, 2nd and 2 trophies. Now, obviously, the football at Liverpool is infinitely better than Manchester United at the moment, but ultimately, they finished below us in the league and they've not got any trophies. And as I was saying this morning, history won't remember Liverpool played good football this season and won nothing. We'll remember they won nothing because they won nothing, but history doesn't remember the fact that, you don't get any prizes for being decent at football. You get prizes for winning games and winning finals. And the reality is, we can all moan about Jose Mourinho, and I think we're right to moan about the style of football, but you've got Liverpool fans singing in the streets, going on about Klopp. I wouldn't swap him for anybody. He's absolutely brilliant. He put that goalkeeper in goal. We've known this. I've said it so many times that those keepers are terrible, and Klopp's kept playing them. And he spent a lot of money on Van Dijk, good signing, but Liverpool are not going to win a title. They're never going to win a title while they've got Klopp in charge. They could have won a Champions League last night. I genuinely thought they had a good chance, but Real Madrid did the business, and I don't think they'll be getting to any final in the future. But Liverpool fans are massively happy with Klopp, and I, as a United fan, am massively happy with Klopp. And I'm also very happy with Mourinho because I think it's deceptive what the press and those Liverpool fans, they're falling into this trap of, we play great football. But actually, there is a happy medium. It's good football and winning trophies, and that's what United need to get to. And I think that's the coaching staff thing sort of sent me on that path there. United do need to improve the way that we're playing, but results-wise and where we are heading, comfortably second place. We should have won an FA Cup as well, but our season's still better than Liverpool's. This seems rather far-fetched, Pogba to be sold after we spent 90 million on him, says Rooney 8 MUFC. And thanks for the contribution, Abhishek. Look, I'd be absolutely stunned if Paul Pogba was allowed to go, but there is a lot of rumours about it. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but I actually think if it's going to happen, it's being driven by Paul Pogba. It's not being driven by Manchester United. Let's not forget, it has been out there that Pogba's been offered around in January. Pep Guardiola said it. But would I swap Milinkovic-Savic for Pogba? No, I wouldn't. And I think you have to be a little bit loyal to your players. Yes, Pogba's not being as good as he should be, and that's partly down to him, but it's also partly down to what he's been surrounded with as well. I'd love to see Paul Pogba in a more dynamic Manchester United side next season with another midfielder next to him who is more attacking. Because Herrera, Matic and Pogba is a good midfield three, but there's still a massive onus on Paul Pogba. And I think if you had Matic, Pogba and Milinkovic-Savic, or Matic, Pogba and Fred, you'd have a very sort of different midfield three, obviously, and I think that could work well for Manchester United, and I think it would provide Paul Pogba with a different balance. So yeah, I think Pogba's got us, and I can't see Pogba going anyway, because where would he go? Where would he go? PSG look like they're going to get hit with financial fair play. PSG, Real Madrid or Barcelona are the only clubs that could take Paul Pogba, and they'd have to pay 140 million or 130, because United aren't going to accept anything less where he is with his contract. I heard a rumour about Martial being in discussions about an extension, says Josimar. I mean, it's not a rumour. Those discussions have been going on for a long time. Pogba is better than David, says Tyrode. Fabinho, Pogba and Fred, says London Contacts. I think and Ryan C says Matic is slow. I think Fabinho, being linked to Fabinho, as I said on Friday night, is really, really encouraging for me because I really like him. But we should have got him instead of Matic. That's what I wanted to happen a year ago. We've got Matic now. Mourinho loves Matic, and Matic is going to play next season. So we can talk about somebody playing next to Pogba in a midfield three, but Matic is not going to be displaced. He will be the defensive midfielder. And he's had a good season, Matic, and I don't dislike him as an individual at all. I think, he's come to United and he's done a good job. I think he's had some bad games, but in the main, he's been very good. My issue with Matic was always that he's just too slow. He's slow at taking the ball off the back four, and he's a bit slow. And I really wanted us to get somebody who was just a bit quicker and more tenacious. And I know that's my favourite word, tenacity in the midfield. And Fabinho would have given us that. But it's a bit more like the Kante, the Fernandinho. That's the sort of midfielder I think, that's the sort of centre defensive midfielder I think United need in the modern game. It's somebody who can get the ball off the back four, move it on quickly, and then when we lose the ball, get in there and get it back quickly. And Matic just isn't that player. But he's had a good season, and I think we have to accept that Matic will be that midfielder next season. But we do need backup for him, Kieran Byrne. And I think the brilliance of a Fabinho signing would be that Valencia's not been so good since Christmas. And he could step into right back as much as he could step into the centre defensive midfielder. And also, I feel that Matic is already going the same way as Valencia, because it's far more demanding in the centre defensive midfielder than it is in right back. I mean, right back's tough. You've got to get back and forward a lot. But centre defensive midfielder in a Manchester United team is bloody hard work. And I think I'm right in thinking Matic is going to be 30 in the summer. So he's already, as a centre defensive midfielder, he's going to start dropping off a bit. So and how tired did he look from about November time to the end of the season? There was games where Matic looked absolutely exhausted. So there is a place there for somebody to come in and back him up. We've never had a quick centre defensive midfielder, says Beast Boy. Roy Keane was pretty quick across the ground. Scholesy was pretty quick across the ground as well. Carrick was very quick across the ground, actually. I mean, Carrick beat Aguero in a sprint. He was deceptively quick, Michael Carrick, and his reading of the game made him in a yard even quicker. Jay Coulthard says most publications list Fred as a tenacious defensive midfielder, not attacking. I've seen this before, Jay. People are really not grasping what Fred's all about. Fred is not a centre defensive midfielder. I don't know where people are getting this from. He's not a centre defensive midfielder. His best assets are probably more attacking. I'm not saying he's an attacking midfielder in the sense of a number 10 or anything like that. He's definitely a midfielder, and he's definitely a box-to-box midfielder, but he's not a defensive midfielder. I think he can play there, but he's got really good attacking assets. I mean, I would play him there over Matic, of course, because he's a lot quicker. But I don't think we're bringing him in there to play in Matic's position at all. Not at all. Red Jedi, do we really think signings are going to solve our problem? I don't. I think, as the Super Chat said, it needs to be accumulation of things. And I do think that we are going to get... Zhu Pugh says he's a centre attacking midfielder. He's box-to-box, says Ryan C. I do think that the coaching changes are really positive, and that's going to make a lot of difference, because signings themselves won't make any difference if we play the same way we did last season. So the coaching staff change is really important, but the signings do need to be made, because we have got a lot of deadwood in the squad. Fellaini needs to go. Darmian needs to go. It's going to be really interesting around. I totally expect Twansibi to go back on loan to Villa in the Championship now that they've not gone to the Premier League. Villa are going to ship some players out. and I think Twantibi will go back there. I think Fosu Mensah may get loaned out again, or he may be involved in the first team, and Pereira is very interesting as well. So it's not all about everybody who comes in through the door. I really want Pereira and McTominay to get games, says Rooney 8MUFC. I mean, I think McTominay will, unless we give him a loan move. And I wouldn't be opposed to McTominay having a loan move next season if it was to somebody like Bournemouth. I always mention Bournemouth because I think Bournemouth for Fosu Mensah, Pereira and McTominay would be really good because they'd go and play mid-club Premier League side week in, week out. And that's what they need to do. And if they, I would argue that it's more beneficial for a McTominay to go and play every week for Bournemouth than it is for him to be on the bench for Manchester United and get a handful of games every season. So, I mean, I don't think him going on loan is going to be a bad thing, but I don't necessarily think it will. Mohar says, what do you think about Herrera, Pogba, Savic, Fred? I have a funny feeling that Herrera or Mata will go this summer. I just have a funny feeling that that's going to happen, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's not being mentioned a lot, but I just do think we are. We're not in for Mahrez. Mahrez will go to Manchester City. Manchester City are definitely in talks with Leicester at the moment about a player, and I would put 2 and 2 together and say that is Riyad Mahrez. Pereira could be a great asset, says Rohan Rooney. Yes, he could. Would you swap Pogba for Kroos if we get Savic too, says Pankaj. I think that Real Madrid team is absolutely stunning what Zidane's done there. Everybody goes on about Pep, but Pep didn't do what Zidane did at Barcelona. He didn't win a Champions League at Bayern Munich, and he's not won a Champions League at Manchester City. They're both very similar, Zidane and Pep, in the way they've been handed the keys to the kingdom of 2 of the biggest clubs in the world. And Pep was successful at Real Madrid. But what Zidane's done, I've just been very, very impressed with, is the way he can adapt his team to any circumstance. I mean, they didn't play very well in the first half yesterday, but they still win the game. He makes inspired substitutions and his tactics adapt. He got rid of this Galactico mentality where you just go and buy the best players and hope it works. And he built a team there. That midfield 3 of Modric, Casemiro and Kroos. They may not be the star midfield 3 in the world, but they're definitely the best balance. Their back 4, again, the balance he's got there, the centre-back partnership, and then obviously Ronaldo up front. And he's done a great job there. And to win 3 Champions Leagues in a row, I mean, I think if Pep Guardiola did that, the world would just end with living up his backside. There'd be no people left. It'd just be Pep walking around with a big bottom. But Zidane does it, and he just doesn't really get, especially from the British press, any sort of appreciation. And it's amazing what he's done. Absolutely amazing what he's done there. But I do feel that Real Madrid team is probably going to break up, because I don't think they'll win number 4 next year. And I think they need to. I think this is the summer where they're going to evolve. They didn't do a lot of business last summer. And how does that impact with Manchester United? Well, it depends, really. I still think that if Manchester United buy a Real Madrid player, you've got to be very careful about what happens with David De Gea. And I don't know about you lot, but I would never get rid of David De Gea for any player. There's no player in world football I personally would get rid of David De Gea for. So that's my concern. So whether you're talking Ronaldo, Bale, Kroos, Ramos, Modric, whoever you want to talk about from Real Madrid, it's like, well, does De Gea go as part of that deal? And that's what concerns me about that. But I do think Real Madrid are going to make some big moves this summer. I think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting summer. And Skull Games is right. Real Madrid is an ageing team now, and they do need to evolve. And you know what? From a Zidane, I mean, is Zidane going to stay at Real Madrid? Because we've sort of gone full circle there. Lots of people watching. Please do drop a like on the video and get involved. Remember, we're live every night at 8 o'clock. Transfer daily, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. And we will go live if there's big news like we have done the last couple of days. We've done a couple of live videos, haven't we? So get involved. Thanks everyone for watching us live, and give us your thoughts below if you're not watching live. Fantastic. I just feel as well that, and let me just close that thing and then I'll just say what I wanted to say about that as well. But I mean, what I would say is that if Zidane stays at Real Madrid, Zidane wanted Pogba 2 years ago. Obviously, Zidane's French and he speaks highly of Paul Pogba. So if Real Madrid are going to rebuild, and this is the sign of a good manager as well, and Zidane will be fully aware of it, the best manager in football history is Sir Alex Ferguson. But not only that, Sir Alex Ferguson's ability to rebuild a team and make it successful. The 94 team, the class of 92 team, the team in 08. He just kept rebuilding teams all the time. After Ronaldo went, he still went and won Premier League titles. He won it with Van Persie. He's built so many different teams. And that, for Zidane, might be a challenge that makes him stay at Real Madrid, because he might think, you know what? If I'm going to be a really great manager, I've got to build another team. And he needs to do that this summer. And I just wonder if he might think, yeah, it is time to move Kroos on or Modric. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Pogba in. And he might go to his Presidente and say, 120 million, get me Paul Pogba. And they might go, what? He's not been brilliant at Manchester United. And he might go, I'll make him brilliant. He's half the player he should be at United. I can make him brilliant. And also, he's marketable. He's exactly the sort of player. So, it could happen. Zidane could do that, but I don't. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think Pogba will go. No, Jordan, you didn't. I can't remember anything that you did that upset me. Zidane is more tactical than people give him credit for, says Lamia side. Oh, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. But bringing it back to Manchester United, I just want to say I feel very, very positive at the moment. Very, very positive. I'm not ashamed to say that Liverpool losing last night has totally made me feel a lot happier about this summer. A lot more positive about next season. I think it's given Mourinho until at least October. I mean, I was going to back him next season anyway, but I think United fans can breathe a big sigh of relief now that we haven't got to listen to Liverpool going on about winning the Champions League. Suddenly, Liverpool's season's worse than ours. Spurs is worse than ours. Chelsea, although they've won the FA Cup, I still think is worse than ours because they're not in the Champions League. The only team in England who had a better season than us and obliterated everyone was Man City, and we've sort of been used to that for a while. If Liverpool had won it, that would have been them better than us, living in their shadow. That's not happened. And yeah, they got to the final, but second place doesn't matter. You've got to win it. Shantana Dar says, how many of our players are in their World Cup side compared to City's players? Puts a big question on the quality. Good point. So yeah, I do feel a lot more positive, and I think we can enjoy the summer a little bit more now. Really looking forward to the World Cup. Really looking forward to seeing what we're going to do in the transfer window. And I just do feel that last season was horrible in many ways, but we need to sort of park it, forget about it and see. And the coaching changes are positive. If the playing staff outs and ins are positive, next season we go for it. And as I've said, I would take it as a positive. If you are somebody who's still unsure on Mourinho, or even Mourinho out, he'll be gone in a year if it goes the way you think it's going to go. But if it goes better, we'll win the league. And I know I'm not expecting us to win the league, but I'm encouraged by where we are now. And as I say, I don't make any apologies for it. People have been saying today, oh, you're just bitter and you're so small-minded that your mood is dictated to by Liverpool. Well, Liverpool are our biggest rival. They are our biggest rival, and they'd feel exactly the same as well. It would have destroyed our summer if they'd won that tournament, and they didn't win it. And now we feel a little bit more positive. And I think we've got to be positive because, we're not going to kick a ball in anger until the middle of August. So we may as well cling on to those positive thoughts and hope that we're going to get some good business done in the transfer market, and we'll go on from there. So yeah. Bale and Ronaldo I'm going to talk about on the Transfer Daily tomorrow, because there's something that I needed to just check before we do that. So I don't want to get into that debate tonight, but it's one of the topics on the Transfer Daily tomorrow morning, so get involved with that. And what I will say though is that goal is just amazing, and to do that in a cup final as well, amazing. If Messi'd score again, I think the press are just a bit agenda driven, I would say, because if like I said, if Pep had done what Zidane's done, they wouldn't be shutting up about it for ages. And if Messi had done that goal that Bale did, or Ronaldo had done it, they wouldn't be shutting up about it. I mean, Bale's had a bit of praise, but nothing like what Ronaldo or Messi would get. So it was a fantastic goal, and to do it in the box as well and get that dip, it was just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Is Lukaku good enough to win the title or the Champions League, says Kofi Annan. I'll answer that one, Kieran Byrne, in a minute. Lukaku isn't in the top 10 strikers in the world for me, but he's a very good striker. And we can win the league with Lukaku, I think. And until we do it, no one's sure. But Lukaku's really more about the players you put around him. We won't really be able to judge Lukaku until he's missing chances that people have provided for him. So I remember against Stoke away last season, we were 1-1 because Phil Jones had made a mistake. And with 5 minutes to go, Lukaku missed a sitter. And I said, that's Lukaku's problem. He's got to improve on that because he's just lost us 2 points. He didn't cost us 2 points, really. Phil Jones did with his stupid defending. But Lukaku had the chance to gain us those 2 points. And it was probably his only chance of the game. And he missed it. And I said at the time, that's the problem with Lukaku. He's not Mr. Lethal. He needs 2 chances to score a 1 goal. He doesn't always score the 1 good chance. And that's where Lukaku could be costly. But in fairness to him, I think he's had a good season. And actually, we need to provide him with more chances anyway. So I think we could win a title with Lukaku. We just need to provide him with more chances. And as we've said many a time, Harry Kane gets double the chances that Lukaku gets. So Lukaku's had a good season. If we can provide him with the same amount of chances Harry Kane gets, then Lukaku can score as the goals. So yeah, I do agree with that. Kieran Byrne quite rightly said, where's Sophie and Flex? It is a Sunday night show, but we've moved our Sunday night show to tomorrow night because it's a bank holiday in the UK. And so it's not a normal Sunday night. So Flex is DJing because it's like another Saturday night in the UK because people will be out. Flex is DJing and Sophie's gone to watch Ed Sheeran at the Etihad. So it'll be the first time it's ever been full. So yeah, they'll both be on tomorrow night. I should have said that at the start. Is Kane to Madrid still on, says Momentum Stocks? I think it's the perfect place for him to go, but I don't think he will do. No. And... who are my top 3 players in the world, Ahmed? Very, very quickly. Definitely Messi and Ronaldo. And then I think the 3rd best player in the world. You could argue... I would never put Suarez there because I don't like him. I think Neymar would have been there, but I don't think that PSG move's done him any favours. It's up for grabs. It's up for grabs. It really is. I think Salah, really, at the moment. I know that people won't like that because he plays for Liverpool. And I certainly think he's got to do it next season. But based on this season, it's got to be Ronaldo, Messi and Salah. He has been absolutely amazing. And he's you know what? Even though he plays for Liverpool, he's a likeable bloke. Because I felt sorry for him when he was injured yesterday. He's a likeable bloke. And I very rarely say that about anybody who plays for Liverpool. So I did feel sorry for him. I don't wish injury on anybody. And I know some people do. And I've heard people say it about Fellaini. But I would never, ever wish injury on anybody. And I did feel sorry for him. And I hope he's back for the World Cup. But he's had a fantastic season, and what I said last night on the watch along on That's Football is that what Salah's done, and people took this totally the wrong way, but what Salah's done, he's proved that you can still be a one-man team and win a major trophy, because when he went off yesterday, they were just rubbish Liverpool, absolutely rubbish. But with him in the team, he took them to another level. I mean, did Firmino actually play yesterday? I rated him. I put him in my combined 11. He was atrocious. As was Mane. He is a star quality player, but he's got to do it next season. And next season he'll be a marked man. And that's why Ronaldo and Messi are just on a different level to anybody, because season in, season out, they just keep doing it. Has it gone? It's gone quiet on the Alexandre front, says Craig Magaram. I think this week we're going to see some business. I think we're going to see some business for Manchester United. Let me just have a quick look. There was something I wanted to check, and you've just reminded me, so thanks for that. I think this week is a really, really, really important week. And the reason I say that is that we've got international week. So, well, yeah. It's international week, so... Wait a minute, no it's not. Yeah, there's international games going on, like France play Italy on Friday. You see, it's difficult. It's really difficult because if you are an international at the moment, everyone's joining up with their international squads. So can you do business with people who are on international duty? You can do it. But those players who aren't part of the World Cup, they're the ones that you need to be going for. I just wonder whether Fellaini will get done in the next 7 days. I think it might do. I think there's a little bit of a window between the friendlies and the start of the World Cup. I think they give them 2 or 3 days just to go and have a bit of recharge. So I think it's going to be a big week for Manchester United. And also, you can't overstate that the Champions League final is pretty much the real end of the season, and you don't see a lot before that. So I think we'll see something this week, whether it's Fred or Fellaini going, or maybe something around Alexandro. Juventus apparently are going to hold talks with him this week, so I'd expect something to happen with that. Sanchez ruined the transfer window, number 7 gone, says Patrick Witten. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very, very interesting, and we'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Absolutely loads of people watching tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night because we'll have Sophie and Flex on as well. Got Transfer Daily at 7 AM. We've got the Ronaldo and Bale videos that have gone up in the last 24 hours if you've not seen them. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're getting very close to 230,000 subscribers. But as per usual, I just want to give a big shout out to the moderators, and also, as per usual, a big shout out to all you lot. We can't do these shows without you lot getting involved. Absolutely love the discussions in there. The United Stand Army is up and running for the summer, as it is every summer, and I think some positivity is starting to build, which is great. And Nitar says Fellaini's contract ends this week, so that's a nice positive way to go into it. Apparently George just came up with a good idea, but I can't find it. I'll have to have a read back and see if I can. George. I saw him commentate in a minute. Here we go. Are we having a party on the channel when Fellaini leaves? All right, okay. I think that might be a bit crass, but inside I'll be partying. Anyway, thanks everyone who's dropped a like on the video. Thanks everyone who's getting involved. If you are new, you're very welcome. We've got a fantastic community here, whether it's on the live comments or dropping your comments below. Join the discussion. Get involved with the United Stand. This show is all about you and your opinions, and it always has been. We've got a big summer ahead, so get involved, get your notifications on, which is the bell underneath, and get involved. I really enjoyed tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Speak to you all soon.